Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another recording of Deponia. Let us continue. So, small chance here that we might end early, but also a chance that we are just starting on a new path. We've got to get Goal's original cartridge, that's the word I'm trying to say, and maybe that's going to be the end of the game? Or maybe there'll be a little bit more. It will go from this point to like over here and here and here and then one long line here. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. This might actually be pretty short. Last time, it almost seems like we could have just kept on lying the goal and made it to Elysium. We were in the lifeboat.
Not without goal.
But now we've got to go back and let's see. Maybe we should talk to Hoisted Cletus. We need to get the thing from Argus. Will Argus talk to us? Or?
This has to go faster. We need those codes. Yes, Bailiff. You do know what's at stake. If Ulysses had had his way, we'd all perish here on Deponia. Yes, Bailiff.
Any problems here?
No, Prime Controller, sir. Just a relay that short-circuited.
This matter is of no concern now. I want to address the crew before we head on to Portofisco. Immediately.
As you wish, Prime Controller. You heard the man. Get moving.
So,
It's now or never.
apparently, Goal put the ascension codes in, or never put them in, and you need them once you get to the top of the
I'd
lifeboat.
rather not.
Let's grab the cartridge and then put up the backup cartridge in the reading
No
machine.
time. They could be back any second.
Well, gee, is that it? Why am I walking that way?
Surprised, are we? I bet you thought you finally made it, huh? Lady Luck loves the righteous, so on and so forth, right? Well, think again, buddy. It's almost ironic. For once in your life, you decide to do the right thing, and immediately you lose everything. Your dream turns into a nightmare. The love of your life is lost, and your home planet gone. I would really love to pity you now, but the cable boat is ready, and the ascension codes have been entered. I don't want to let Elysium wait for me any longer. After all, they're expecting a report from me. I could have left it ready, by the way, but how shall I put it? My back is troubling. I don't want to do all the rowing by myself. So, hand over the cartridge. Now, Goal's memories about your failed attempt to mess with my plans should still be stored in her short-term memory. I can delete that in a minute. Hand it to me. You wish.
What is going on here?
The Organon. Always on time, always reliable. I guess I owe you an apology. That rat didn't swallow your cheese, Bailiff. But I'm not an unforgiving person. Once Rufus hands over the cartridge, we'll be able to carry out our scheme as planned. Now more than ever.
You heard him, Rufus. Give him the cartridge now.
Come on, Rufus. Be reasonable. I will return to Elysium no matter what. You can't change that. But if you hand over the data, you'll at least have a chance at saving Goal. So, what do you say? Do we have an agreement?
Okay. We can talk this all over.
Let's talk this over. And why, pray tell, should I listen to you? I just want the cartridge. Nothing else.
Never.
Never. Well, I guess I'll have to row myself then. Too bad. But I should have known that your pride is more important to you than Gull's life. I bet you already figured out a nice lie to tell her when she wakes up, and then realizes that you've brought her a front row seat for Armageddon. Wait a minute. No, don't waste my time. Give me the cartridge or don't.
Alright, here's the cartridge.
Okay, you win. Here's the cartridge. How unusually reasonable of you. And I bet that Gull would be thankful too. Unfortunately, she will never know that you even existed. My. Deponia will make such a great display of fireworks for our wedding.
Cletus? What happened?
A lot. Can't you remember anything at all?
Of course I can remember. We two were on board an Organon cruiser. We wanted to inspect Deponia, right?
We're on Deponia now. Our mission is over.
Did I fall asleep?
There was an accident. You fell from the cruiser. That's why you can't remember anything. But take a look around. Deponia really is deserted.
Unbelievable. Nothing but junk.
Yes, just junk. Nothing else. Come, let's go home to Elysium. We have to prepare our wedding.
Yes, let's go.
Well, that's that, I guess. I'll be on my way too. The way home to Kuvak is long, and I need to prepare for the apocalypse.
Not so fast, Sonny. You didn't think we'd let you leave just like that. You know too much. Also, I believe you have something that belongs to us.
Oh yes, the cartridge.
Give it to me. What is it? What are you waiting for?
Oops.
No!
So long, suckers! No!
Get that traitor! Shoot him!
Well, my friend, did you lose something?
The cartridge. Bravo, Prime Controller, sir.
Interesting new perspective.
So, Rufus, what are you going to do now?
What's our quest here is bail out, come up with a wholly new plan to Elysium. We have no items. Handrail. Oregonians. Ramp. The cartridge. Let's grab it.
Damn, he's too far away.
Give up, little man.
Let's grab the handle then.
See you later.
No! Stop!
What are you doing? Ah, you damn fool! Let go!
Uh-oh.
Right in a pile of needles.
Back so soon? That was a pretty impressive fall. And you managed to land in the pile of needles. Never seen anything like it. You have my respect. Everything all right, kid? You seem a bit stressed out.
Thumbs up of all those options. Look at that clean water. Thought it was all rusted garbage water.
There. The course is set. Next stop, the floating black market.
Good, great, fine.
Are you alright, Rufus? You sound all tuckered out. You didn't finish telling me what happened up there on the tower. I don't want to be nosy, but, is Deponia safe?
That's out of my hands now.
Now look at you startled, the brain implant cartridge has not been swapped, which was all part of the plan. A world has been rescued that he did detest. Who'd have guessed, I attest, you'd have done just the same. So if you still want to force me to do stupid chores like washing the dishes to the trash and such, you'll just prove that you haven't paid attention to what I said. The message at its core is like a huzzah as a rule.
Huzzah, the chorus guys rule.
Question mark, and we'll get back to that in a moment. See if we go to credits or something.
Huh? What's this all about? Isn't that Ms. Hinkle's junk press?
No, that's the junk press from my trawler. You need to help me fix it.
Yeah, but it looks exactly like Ms. Hinkle's junk press from the tutorial in Part 1.
So what? Who's going to notice? Those who played Part 1 don't even need a tutorial.
Yeah, but I bet they're gonna play it through anyway, because they just can't get enough of me. Count me out. I'm definitely not gonna suffer through this whole tutorial thing again. I mean, it was stupid enough the first time around.
Ah, come on. A little repetition can't hurt.
Then how do you explain this blister? That is where I burned myself when I repeatedly put my hand on a hot stove.
You never learn, do you?
Au contraire, I have a nearly photographic memory.
Do you now? So, do you remember how to use the interface in order to talk to someone?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Go ahead. Talk to me. Just point the cursor at me.
Let's
and
go ahead
left
and
click as
skip.
soon as the speech balloon icon
Stop
appears.
this right
No
now because
prompting.
this is the tutorial for Part 2. And so now we are back into welcome back to Deponia. We are actually in the second game. It just jumped you right in there. Videos are different. There's a puzzle here. Let's see. There's looks like a little bit more videos. So good story for the first part of a planned trilogy, although I don't feel like they deserve I think it's making a huge assumption to make a planned trilogy unless, well, you know what, it's just making a huge assumption. Even a AAA well-known developer of a game, if they had made BioShock 1 as part of a planned trilogy, which it's not really a trilogy, because BioShock 2, well, was basically a different company, and then BioShock Infinite is completely a different game that hardly even connects to it. Yeah, don't do planned trilogies at all. There's a lot of pacing issues with this first game, and if you just bought Deponia and you didn't buy the collector's edition, like the complete journey, you'd be pretty disappointed in a couple of points. You'd be disappointed that Chapter 2 was incredibly short. You'd be a little disappointed in the length of Chapter 3. Chapter 3 was better. It had a lot more people that you talked and interacted with. It had a lot more elements. It wasn't just the straight path to the puzzles. Maybe I just got really lucky in Chapter 2, and there were a few places where you could have got stuck. In Chapter 3, there were some places where I kind of got stuck. A lot of elements there. Chapter 1 is incredibly too long. I imagine what happened was Chapter 1 was going to be the whole game at some point in development, because that would have been like a $5-10 at its original sell game if you'd just done Chapter 1 and you said, well, I'm a small company, small independent game type thing. I could buy that. But then they added more. They added Chapter 2, which is dependable, and they added Chapter 3. But then they also said this was part of a planned trilogy, which, no. Buying these games individually makes no sense at all. There's no reason why you would want to play Chaos and Deponia if you did not know the story of Deponia, the first game in the trilogy. No reason whatsoever. As for Rufus, I kind of like him. He's alright for a point-and-click adventure. He's not too smart. You don't want a character that sounds smarter than the player, and the player is going to end up clicking on everything and trying everything. So you want, usually point-and-click adventures do very well with this comedic storyline and attitude, because you end up doing a bunch of ridiculous things. For example, the cats running the post office, or the robot running the post office using cat powers, is the kind of silliness that you expect in point-and-click adventures. Overall, I think knowing that I own all 3 of the games, I'm alright with Deponia as itself. I would be hugely upset with Deponia if I had bought it by itself and not gotten the other parts, or not known about the other parts. There probably was a significant amount of time between Deponia and Chaos and Deponia, and between Chaos and Deponia and Goodbye to Deponia. This whole thing being squished together as its own game is about right. I'm glad it's not DLC. That certainly could be a problem. I'm glad that when you buy the complete journey, you get the complete journey. What I want to do the director's commentary. Well, we still kind of have to get to the end of the story. The ending that we were going to put the regular tape back in makes some sense, but we have to think about how this works. The only way you could have arranged for Goal, which is a silly name, but this is from German, but I bet it was a silly name in German too. But the only way you could have arranged with her to say, if your cartridge gets taken out, when it gets put back in, pretend like you don't remember any of that, would have had to been between the time you woke her up originally and the time you took out the cartridge and she was mad at you. Which I think then if she was in on this plan at all, which at all odds the story seems to indicate she wasn't, she just kind of made it up herself, she would have then had to fake her fight in which she was mad at you, so that you would take the cartridge out, which doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you fake the fight and make him feel bad? Why would you really feel bad? He would have had to been acting in the lifeboat, pretending like he was feeling bad to get her mad, so the backup copy hated her even more, and that would be the only way, I guess, to get her to take the lifeboat back down. But see, that doesn't really make any sense, because with the backup copy in her brain, you could have just explained to her, look, my name is Rufus, I'm actually a Deponian, we have to get up there and tell them that the planet is inhabited so they don't destroy it, and we have to do this now. We'll go back and get your original brain cartridge later. Maybe you'll just have to live without those memories for the rest of your life, but this is too important. That would have been actually the better thing to do, is to get to Elysium and actually make sure you stop the explosion of Deponia, which isn't guaranteed now because Cletus is with her, and he'll probably figure out that she has her memories and stop her anyways. This sets up for Cletus and the Oregonians to be the main bad guys in the whole story, which I think is probably the right thing to do for this game. I don't think we can start a completely separate story in the second part and a completely separate story in the third part. Now we do know, when we look here, since I haven't hit the controller in a long time, that as far as the well, I can't bring it up here. As far as the chapters, we know, because I've looked before, that there is going to be one more chapter in the second game, and basically I think 2 or 3 more chapters than the first game. So it is going to get longer, but there's no guarantee that each of those chapters aren't going to be really short ones, and that might even help a little bit. I am not inherently opposed to a point-and-click adventure game where you get into very small chapters with 3 to 5 different scenes, and in those 3 to 5 different scenes are 5 to 8 different items that you're going to interact with, and 2 to 3 different people you might talk to. I'm not inherently opposed to that. Just keeping everything really tight and making each puzzle be a little bit easier to figure out. Because a lot of the old point-and-click adventures would have you go through the entire game. You might go over 30, 40, 50 scenes trying to pick up anywhere between 20 to 40 items that could all interact with each other. You might have to go 10 scenes to the left to talk to one character, then go 10 scenes to the right to talk to another character, to progress down a quest chain. And those can often be nightmares. Just game-breaking, impossible puzzles where a significant percentage of your players just give up or go look for a walkthrough. Now, in the coverage of Deponia, I did have to look at a walkthrough 4 or 5 times, so there was some stuff that was a little too obscure for me. We didn't really run into any of that at the end, so I think they're going to get better. I'm hoping they get better as they create this game. I probably should have done some research to see if this was the first game this team has ever made. It's pretty polished if it's their first game, and I do know that they spent a lot of time working on it, but like years and years. But that's pretty true in your first game, or just games in general. You spend years and years on them, and I like the polish on it. I think the songwriting probably plays off a lot better in German at the beginning. There's no real moral to the story other than you can be a conniving weasel and you can succeed. And for Rufus, I think that is about the best moral that you could actually play off for him. He didn't turn into a just superhero where he sacrificed himself completely. Although he sorta sacrificed his chance to get to Elysium. He didn't die in the process or jump through in front of a bullet to save goal. So yeah, so far so good, I would have to say. Unfortunately, now we've only been going 24 minutes, and I do want to split up the episodes. I don't want to start Chaos and Deponia in the middle of this recording. So I don't think there's anything I can really do. Let's see. If I click quick game, this will be weird. It's just gonna quit. If I click load or save, that's just gonna let me save. Notice I've only saved like 3 times. I'm very bad at that. Ideally, as a YouTuber, I should save every single recording. If I go to settings, you will see we are in the different settings now. So I have to turn off developer's commentary again, and all the audio is different. There were only like 2 audio sliders before. One thing that should be mentioned is that a lot of the point and click adventure games, oops, I didn't mean to hit that, but a lot of the point and click adventure games are made by the Scum engine, script created utility for Maniac Mansion. And Maniac Mansion was like one of the very early point and click adventures games, and a lot of the old ones use that, and then they came out with the Telltale tool for the Telltale games, and those are pretty much only Telltale games use the Telltale tool. This uses its own engine. Now in 2015 that's not really that impressive, because it's not that hard to figure out how to program a point and click adventure engine. Unfortunately, there's no like Unreal or Unity engine that would particularly be well suited for that. That's a shame. I wish there kind of was, and I bet there are some plugins there, but they're not widely adopted to my knowledge. That would be great if you saw something on the level of Skyrim, or, well, yeah, just on the level of a game like Skyrim. If there was a point and click adventure ability there, and you can fake it, but it would be very difficult to get that feel. I think in particular because almost all point and click adventure games are actually, I am going to click continue here, and quit. I'm hitting the wrong button. I want to bring up
everything, right? Then why? Just point the...
Will you stop?
You know that...
How?
Right. So I was trying to see if I could get to the map, and I can't. Darn it. So that sucks. I was hoping to see if I could look at the previous chapters maps, but I'll have to quit out the whole game and come back in. It is weird when you have the complete collection. You quit out and you have an overlay menu, but when you hit continue, it then jumps you into the individual games, and then you're into the individual games menu. And there's no real way to get back. There's no way to go back to the main menu. But yeah, what I was saying before I distracted myself, unfortunately, was almost every single point and click adventure is this cartoony style 2D 2.5D animation stuff. I don't know if you could do a game like Skyrim in 3D and have a point and click adventure really work. I think you'd run into a major problem of, you've seen probably on YouTube videos of people hoarding items in Skyrim, just picking up every single cheese wheel and throwing it in their house. Well, in a point and click adventure game, there would be one very important cheese wheel, and you'd have to be able to find it. And when you go from a 2D flat pane where you always look from a specific perspective to a 3-dimensional world where you can spin around, you would probably have to make tiny rooms filled with very little items. Now, I recently covered a game called Gone Home that was a house filled with a lot of stuff, and in a lot of ways I guess that might have been a point-and-click adventure, or the beginnings of one, if there were any people to actually interact with it and talk to. And you do have to pick up a few items to unlock doors. So you could do it. I could see how you could convert something like Gone Home into a point-and-click adventure, and it almost arguably could be called a point-and-click adventure just in 3D, but I'm not sure it would still feel the same way as this. I think you've got to get this comedy down. I think you've got to do the 2.5D cartoony animation. I'm not sure you can pull off a game otherwise and it feel like the old ones. Unfortunately now, as I've stretched this to 30 minutes, I really have nothing more to say. Come back tomorrow, we will begin Chaos in Deponia. We'll go for an hour then, almost certainly. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps out. If you want to support me, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Click it and make a donation. Remember, also on my main YouTube page, which you get to by clicking on my name, there is that playlist tab. Click that. See some of those other games I talked about. Watch some of the other games I've covered. That would help me out a lot. And then, yes, down below I have all those links to social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and the such. And follow and friend me on those things too. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.